Twitter locked the account of the Babylon Bee for naming transgender Biden administration official Rachel Levine their Man of the Year. As it turns out, the right-leaning parody site was biologically correct, but not politically correct. And big tech wants us to follow the left, not just follow the science. Well, here with me to talk about this is Joel Berry. He's the managing editor for the Babylon Bee. Joel, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, it's good to have you. You guys are often providing us with all sorts of amusement and some important cultural lessons. What was your reaction when Twitter told you that your account had been locked for naming Rachel Levine your Man of the Year?
Well, you know, things like this happen to us from time to time, whether it's big tech, Facebook, Twitter coming after us in different ways, a fact check. And usually on those days, you know that it's going to be a bit of a crazy day. So last night, editor-in-chief Kyle Mann texted me and said, "Hey, buddy, guess what? We're locked out of Twitter." And I just could see in my head everything that was going to be coming in the next couple days. It's always a whirlwind of activity after that, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to respond to Twitter, replying to media requests and things like that. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind.
Now, they have told you that they will unlock your account if you agree to delete the tweet. What's your response to that?
Well, yeah, we thought about it. Ultimately, we decided we're not going to take it down. We've kind of reached the point in our culture where it almost feels like a tipping point where these little things, these basic fundamental truths, these realities that we're being asked to deny and pretend aren't there, sooner or later you have to stand up and decide to say no. And in this case, our owner, Seth Dillon, he decided, it's worth it. If we have to lose our Twitter account, if we lose a lot of traffic and revenue to our site, so be it. The truth is worth it. And so that's the stand that we're taking.
Joe, you're on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. A lot of people are on Twitter. I think we would agree that very quickly we could go on Twitter right now and find something worse than saying Rachel Levine is the Man of the Year. Why do you think this is the line that Twitter has drawn and said if you cross it, it's the death penalty?
That's a good question because, you're exactly right. The Taliban is allowed on Twitter. President Putin of Russia is still on Twitter. You can call for violence in all sorts of different ways. You can say all sorts of horrible things, spread hate in all kinds of different ways, as long as it's directed in one direction and it's in support of a certain ideology. That's just, I don't know if I can get into the particulars of why, but that's just the fight that we're in right now. It's, this postmodern movement, this movement that has decided to throw out 2,000 years of Western tradition, throw out the morality of Scripture in our Judeo-Christian nation, has decided to make a morality from scratch, and it doesn't stand up to scrutiny. It doesn't stand up to reason and logic. And so the only way to enforce that worldview and protect that worldview is through force and censorship. And so that's what they're doing. It's crept into the universities. It's crept into the corporations and obviously big tech. And big tech has kind of become the bludgeon for enforcing that worldview.
Joel, you guys at the Babylon Bee are in the humor business, and you make important points, and you try to make serious points, but you try to do so in a way that will make people chuckle or sometimes, recoil. But do you feel like the left has lost its sense of humor generally?
Yeah, absolutely. And in a way, I can empathize with them. I came from the religious right. I came from the evangelical world, the very fundamentalist wing of the evangelical world, if you will. And so I can relate to people who have a hard time laughing at themselves, like we Christians have been guilty of many times in the past. People who are worried about their worldview coming under any kind of scrutiny or questioning. So in a sense, I feel this weird empathy and kinship for people who have lost their sense of humor, and it's the left has kind of become the fundamentalists now, whereas the right have kind of become the punks and the troublemakers and the comedians now.
Yeah.
Just because we're willing to speak the truth, the offensive truth, it's that role reversal has been kind of a funny thing to watch, and it's provided a lot of material for us at the Bee as well.
I think that's true. I think you and I may have similar backgrounds, and it's funny that we are now the countercultural ones, but I think that is undeniably the case. But Joel, I want to ask you on a slightly different topic. It's related here, but when you refer to Rachel Levine as your man of the year, a lot of Christians, and I know you hear this, would say, well, that's just mean, because this is a man who's identifying as a woman. This lacks compassion. It's not Christ-like. What's your response to that charge?
Yeah, I have seen that. And it's a valid question to ask. I think that as Christians, we have to be able to speak the truth in love. That's a command given to us in Scripture. We have to be winsome. We have to be kind, even to the people that we disagree with. A couple things. I think the first thing, our real target in this article, this headline, was USA Today, not necessarily Rachel Levine. So we were satirizing what USA Today had done a couple of days earlier in naming Rachel Levine as the woman of the year, or one of the women of the year. And so we were kind of satirizing that. If you read the article, we allude to the fact that, Rachel Levine is a precious, infinitely valuable child of, creation of God, who is loved by God. And we hope that Rachel, becomes everything who God meant her to be, kind of with a wink, wink, knowing what we mean by that. And so our intention is never to be cruel or unkind or target a specific person. We're targeting ideology. We're targeting bad ideas. We're targeting idolatry. And so, sometimes it's more playful. Sometimes it's a little more savage and cuts deeper to the bone. But we always do try to keep that in front of us, is that we're not trying to be cruel to people. We're not trying to, to borrow the phrase that the left likes to throw around, punch down. We're not trying to do that. Right. But we aren't going to shy away from speaking the truth either.
And we are thankful for that. It is a difficult time. It's a difficult line to walk, but we are called to cast down every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. And I do also think it's biblical to be joyful in the process. But Joel Berry, we thank you so much. We thank you and all of your friends at Babylon Bee for the joy you bring to our lives each and every day. And thanks for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.